is justice.
Tell me about Harry.
Well, Harry was a healthy, fun-loving jokester. He did a lot of joking, and as all the firemen do, they're a real brotherhood of, I used to tell them they were all nutty, but he was the cook, one of the cooks, and he was known for his chili. And when he passed away, my daughter-in-law, one of them, suggested that we put Big Daddy, as he was affectionately named by his firemen about 20 years ago. And he was a large, healthy man. I laid his picture out here last night. This was the way Big Daddy was, and he was a big cut up, and he had a laugh that people never forgot. And many people have written a note about they'll never forget his laugh. It was deep and it was joyful. And his colon had ruptured twice, and then after his septic shock that he lived through, and then he had staph infection from the hospital, and he got through that, and then he had his colon rupture again, and he had a septic poisoning from E. coli, which had invaded his body. They took his colon out, but the colostomy became an explosive diarrhea that would actually blow the colostomy pouch off. He had 2 pouches after last year, and it was a very difficult, humiliating to him situation. And I guess during that time, since last summer, when I've nearly lost him so many times, and we stayed 18.5 weeks in the hospital last year, I really became, I guess the best word for it's angry. And he felt like, and would say occasionally, every time they denied him, he felt like they slapped him in the face for being a dedicated worker who did his job, stayed on the job, and was loyal to the company. He was 75 when he passed away, and no matter what, you're never prepared. And to come home now, he's not there. It just hits you real hard. And seeing his picture that was such a healthy man and all, and I don't know what happened to my big pictures, but this one was made right before. I don't know if you can see those or not. This was made right before he went in the hospital this last time.
What was the product that came out of that plant?
Hot cells and the nuclear reactor. A lot of research is done there for various types of nuclear materials, and now they're into the big environmental, but there's still a lot of very dangerous testing and so forth going on in the labs. The ORNL lab site was also the storage area for all nuclear waste. That came from the labs and materials, plutonium, uranium, and so forth, that they would have excess over. They made the reactor, which is a nuclear reactor. And Harry and his men, in different stages of their positions, would have to go. He talks about how many times they went up at the reactor, which had its blue light shining out from underneath, and they had to go under there and get the dead rabbits and the dead raccoons, and he'd talk about them getting their roadkill and things. And you know, I'm sure that since there's so many of them, they've had, if not a specific incident to them, they have had everyday low exposure to radiation, plutonium. The director of that division made us a list of all the isotope elements that Harry would have been exposed to for radiation. He listed the buildings, he listed the labs, and the material that he would have been exposed to. He also made us another list of all the toxic chemicals and elements that Harry would have been exposed to anytime he was there. Well, we have been in the program for the claims for the sick nuclear workers for 7 years and 7 months when my husband passed away this past April. And his file is so messed up, as are many others, and my goal now has been for the last year and a half not only working diligently on his claim to prove that his file is wrong and many errors that need to be corrected, but also for workers across the nation. There are 39 nuclear sites, and we have thousands and thousands who have been denied over, and the biggest thing is you hear over and over, there's no records. And this is so prevalent across the nation at Los Alamos, the Rocky Flats people, the Mound Laboratory in Tampa, Pittsburgh Steel, plants that we don't normally think of as a nuclear site, but they did work for the government and do government contracts with the radiation and toxic chemicals and elements. Well, I'm involved with the Cold War Patriots and also with the Alliance of Nuclear Workers, which is based in Colorado, as is basically the Cold War Patriots are there too. Many of the programs have been started out there, and Senator Udall and a few of the congressmen there have been fighting very hard for their workers. And recently in the Senate, the bill, the Charlie Wolf Act, which was Senate number 757, that has been put forth to try to make changes, governmental changes from the high level to make this program be more claimant favorable. DOL has their propaganda, I call it, or public relations stories they put out about what a good job they're doing, and recently that they had paid over $1 billion to Tennessee workers. Well, that's to 9,700 people in Tennessee. Most of that's in the Oak Ridge area, but there are 57,000, if I'm right in my numbers, still in Tennessee file claims. And a total of 170,000 plus claimants across the nation have filed. And Senator Corcoran's office called last week and said, we have asked for written explanations of why this man has been misclassified and records lost and nothing taken into consideration for his exposures, his radiological badges, the map, which I haven't found yet, the map of the 200 plus buildings that are contaminated at ORNL plus 200 plus more at Y12. People are still working in these buildings, and I totally am concerned about that, and I think it should be brought to the public. Again, it comes back to the job gets done, and the worker, whatever happens, that just happens. Yeah. And this program was to pay the workers and to help us through these hard times and allow us to be able to hire help and have nurses, but that doesn't happen to the majority of us.
Who was it in Senator Corker's office that you were?
Rhonda Smithson. In Alexander's office, I have Elizabeth Howell, their aides for them, for the Knoxville office. And then in Representative Wamp's, I have Faye McCarroll. And they have been on this case for 2+ years. And I know they've all told me, we can't get an answer out of them anyway. They get a little form letter back and it lists this, and the case is still pending. And it tells all the things, and half of what they write to the senators or to the representatives, it's not right. It's just errors out of their program, talking about he didn't work here, and then they say now, about 2 years ago, that he physically worked at Y12 as a fireman. He didn't. It was a central payroll change. Something's somewhere with the records. And one of the last things he did on Friday, I had him in the recliner and I was working on my papers up that stairs in the den with my big stacks before he went to the hospital that Saturday morning. He said, what you doing now? And I went over and sat on the big arm of the chair And I just talked to him like I did. I said, well, I'm doing this, doing that, telling him what I was doing, what I was writing about again, because I was always doing that. And he said, well, don't give up. He said, make it right.